All right, YouTube. Obama has commanded the public schooling system, including universities taking federal money, to desegregate their bathrooms. And my opinion on this is mixed, and this needs to be said. Everyone keeps filtering into one of two categories. Those that say, oh, it's worse than gay marriage, it's a slippery, next we'll have legal pedophilia in the country. The moralists, the evangelicals, and people who are just morally outraged regardless of what side they're on. Then there are people who pretend that this is some great moral struggle and that Obama's the Messiah leading them to the promised land. Nothing could be further from the truth on either end. This shouldn't be a moral issue. Unfortunately, what Obama has done is now politicize this issue because everything he touches becomes a bitter partisan struggle, ensuring that for the next decade or two this will continue to be fought over. What he should have done, instead of trying to use his executive power in a way that is likely to get struck down by the impending conservative Supreme Court, which it probably will be. Trump will almost certainly win. The Supreme Court is not going to become some liberal bastion of every minority group's rights, giving them free stuff and taking everyone's guns to pay for it. It's just not going to fucking happen. Even Hillary wouldn't be stupid enough to try it. It's just not gonna fly with the American people at this point. I predict that the next Supreme Court's incarnation will be more conservative than it has been. Not a lot, but somewhat. And unfortunately, it is then likely to rule that what Obama has just done, and certain states and municipalities take issue with this, not all of them, but some. Some are voluntarily saying, okay, it's all unisex now, including locker rooms, which is slightly funny, I'm sure, for parents in these schools, but I don't really give a fuck. People have already been fucking each other in locker rooms for 1,000 years. Who cares? Essentially, it's likely to get struck down by the Supreme Court up on appeal, because the federal court system will take this up. You know, some of these states will sue, and they'll say Obama can't actually make us do this. This is a state or local issue, has nothing to do with the federal government. It's not an issue of segregation, and it will become the next, like, segregation-style civil rights struggle. And it doesn't need to be. It shouldn't be a political issue. It should be an issue of everyone has equal treatment under the law, unless there's a very compelling reason for discrimination to exist. This was already ruled on in the last case involving gay marriage. It should be cut and dry. It doesn't need to be a political struggle. But I take heart in one thing. There's one hope on this issue, and that's that the Republican nominee is ambivalent and has already said he doesn't care what bathroom people use. I think that's important because it means that at least at the executive level, whoever is elected next, and I imagine it'll be Trump, they're not going to be willing to really stick their cock in the issue and stir it around too much, and will hopefully let the courts rule on this. The court system in this country, while constantly spurned whenever they make a decision that 50% of the population dislikes, honestly does a better job. Generally, not at the Supreme Court level as much, but at the federal court level, certainly. A much better job than the legislature, and way better job than either of our last two executives have done. Bush and Obama both being disastrous presidencies, complete and abject failures down near Jimmy Carter or like John Adams for the Alien and Sedition Act or something like that. But it doesn't need to be a major issue. It's not really a moral issue. It's a constitutional issue and should be framed as such. And that's increasingly, I think, what we need in this country. People need to stop framing everything as a good or evil argument and frame it as, is it constitutional for the government to do X, Y, and Z or not argument. Once we begin doing that and applying that as our main litmus test, a lot of our problems, I think, will go away. Because all these moral struggles it'll be self-evident what the final outcome should be through the courts, and it doesn't indeed even need to go to the courts. People just need to get over their apprehension about things that they find immoral or degenerate or whatever. Because it was never the intent of those that founded the country that the government would weigh in on it at all. It's retarded that the government, that an executive has to command the states to desegregate school bathrooms, because it was never a problem to begin with. They never needed to be segregated to begin with. That's a place you go to relieve yourself, not a place preferably that you're going to fuck each other. I mean, I guess some people are into that, you know, myself not so much. Some, okay, if you are, whatever. But I mean, does that need to be do you really need to worry about people randomly sexually assaulting each other in a kindergarten bathroom. My hope is not. My hope is that that's not going on a regular basis, because I don't want to live in the kind of world where it would be happening on a regular basis. If there are people that are worried about such a thing, there are already unisex bathrooms in the world. Generally, there's no problem therein. We had some story that a dude walked into a ladies' room and strangled an 8-year-old half to death, I think a few days ago. The thing is, even in the absence of a law protecting the ability of a person to use their chosen bathroom, would there have been some magical psychic physical barrier on that door to prevent him from entering the bathroom? The answer is no. It's not some mystical mumbo jumbo piece of bullshit whereby the fact that there's a law against something or a moral onus against something means it never happens. It has never worked. Take one look at the drug war or prohibition or any of these other bad ideas. The government legislating something doesn't help the issue. The government should legislate 99% less than it does right now. We should have sunset ordinance on all legislation. Everything should stop even existing as a law if it doesn't get reauthorized every other year. That's what I think we need to do. That way we'll have much slimmer law books. We won't need 10 million fucking lawyers to govern every aspect of life. We won't need as many courts. We won't have overcrowded prisons. Everything will be peachy keen and hunky-dory. As far as Obama getting involved, though, no, I can't support him in that. It's like him pretending to be the messiah of gay rights. Really, he was one of the latecomers, even within the leftist movement, as far as it went. He was against gay marriage as a senator, said, oh, civil unions are fine, but marriage is between a man and a woman. Then he just shut up about it for his first term. Second term, when the Supreme Court was getting ready to weigh in on it, he refused to actually defend DOMA, and that's basically all he did. But when gay marriage became legal on a national level, when the Supreme Court ruled on it, he pretended like he had led the charge the whole time. Oh, I'm such a great friend to gays and lesbians. I've even sucked a few cocks in my time, basically, said Obama. Well, he was the Johnny-come-lately to that party. He never did anything to defend gay rights because he saw it as an inconvenient political issue. Once it became a convenient issue, he was willing to play up the crowd and say, oh, what a good job we did. The Democrats didn't get on board with that till the 90s. The Libertarians were in the 70s. They never cared whether gay people considered themselves to be married, and in many cases don't even believe that the state should be the one issuing a marriage contract. The state shouldn't be able to determine who gets married and what arrangement they want and so forth. The same is true of transgendered rights. The Democrats are acting like it's some great moral scourge that somebody would be made to use a bathroom that they feel uncomfortable in, when it involves a tiny minority of the public, when until recently they said nothing about this. If it was such a great moral issue, why didn't they argue this point a decade ago? Why didn't they argue this point 20 years ago, when there were already transgendered people living in the United States? If it was such a great moral hazard for somebody to be in the wrong bathroom, why didn't they try to desegregate bathrooms back then? When I was still peeing in my diapers. No, they waited until now. Well, then don't pretend that it's some great issue because you were blind to it before, basically, let's face it, this year. Until a few months ago, this wasn't an issue. Now it's entered the public consciousness, and the Democrats have chosen to use it as a wedge for the general election. After the election's over for a few years, they probably wouldn't even talk about it anymore. They'll leave it at that. They'll let the courts handle it. So yeah, I think it's funny that Obama is pretending that he has the authority to command the states into compliance here. No legislation has been made by the U.S. House and Senate. The courts have not ruled in on it. We have North Carolina embroiled in it. But as far as on the national level, Obama is an executive. He executes law. He can't make his own laws up on the fly, and he doesn't get to determine whether segregated bathrooms are constitutional or not. He's not a judiciary appointee. He's not on the Supreme Court. He doesn't get to decide that. It's like with immigration. When Obama said, legalize them all, I'm using executive authority to grant conditional amnesty, I said, fundamentally, I don't have a problem with this idea, but he doesn't have the authority to do that. It is an executive overreach. The courts ruled in favor of those who believe the same thing. They found, no, Obama doesn't have the right to unilaterally do that. My fear is that they will do the same on this issue, it will actually make it harder for transgendered individuals to be treated fairly under the law, and that it'll plunge us back into another retarded moral wedge issue. That's unfortunately now what I see in the future, because Obama has chosen to try to throw weight that he doesn't have around in a vain attempt really to, I guess, supplant the Republicans in the media cycle. That's about all. Peace out.